Hello and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Entertainment Weekly gave fans a first look at Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans earlier this week. Dalton Ross, the publication's resident Survivor expert, wrote the lengthy article, which included extensive interviews with longtime host Jeff Probst, executive producer Matt Van Wagenen, and each and every one of the 24 returning castaways. It also revealed exclusive images of the season's record-breaking cast in the moments before the milestone began. Ross, who spent the first 3 days of the game in Fiji, saw everything, including the season's first marooning challenge, the castaways competing in their first immunity challenge, and the first tribal council ceremony, where one returning player saw their torch snuffed by Probst. The first immunity challenge of Season 50 is a Survivor Classic. According to Ross, the challenge is a Survivor Classic, an intense obstacle course followed by a 50-piece puzzle. While the Survivor 50 castaways spent the first 2 days of the competition reacquainting themselves with island life at their respective camps scattered across Fiji's Manunka Islands, the game truly begins when the 24 players, divided into 3 tribes of 8 castaways each, gather on the beach for the first immunity challenge of the season. The 3 tribes will go on a date with Jeff at Tribal Council, where they will have to vote out one of their own in the first elimination ceremony of the season. The 2 tribes that were able to finish the challenge first will receive immunity. By the time Probst says, "Come on in" the EW First Look material, the windy, rainy weather has passed, and Ross describes a beautiful sunny morning as the setting for the players' first immunity challenge. Ross recollected, "They walk in, one tribe at a time, finding their proper positions and filling the camera line gaps between them, as these seasoned reality television stars are so well trained to do." Before the first challenge of Season 50, Jeff Probst feels nostalgic. The longtime host then engages in a brief conversation with the assembled players in typical Probst fashion, asking them how they are feeling after spending 2 full days back on Survivor. The host begins his interrogation with Survivor the Australian Outback runner-up Colby Donaldson, one of the few castaways who has ever dared to push back against his authority. "Colby, right away I notice your face's ferocity. You are in the locker room ready to go, and everyone else is smiling," Probst observed. Donaldson gets right to the point, holding his cards close to his chest, and tells Jeff, "I'm having fun. We're fine." Probst laughs and thinks back to a similar conversation he had with Colby when he appeared on Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. He says to the fugitives, "Oh my God, we are back 15 years earlier. I asked Colby a straightforward question, and he replied, 'We're good. Keep going, Probst.'" Donaldson offered an apology. "Sorry, I ought to smile. I'm having a blast." That is an honest response. Probst responds, "No apologies. This is 50s banter. It's so much fun when you've known each other for this long." Season 50 of Survivor teases a brand new tribal council. Even though Ross had a contract that said he couldn't say anything more about the first immunity challenge of the season, his coverage picked up when the tribe that lost went to the Survivor 50 Tribal Council area for the first time. According to Ross's account, hovering over the proceedings are several giant phoenix statues dotted across the imposing temple-themed Tribal Council set. But there will be no rebirth in the game via Redemption Island or the edge of extinction for whoever's fire is about to be extinguished. The vulnerable castaways, some of whom haven't played Survivor in over 15 years, are reminded of the procedure under the show's New Era format by Probst, as the ceremony begins off-camera. Ross wrote, "He thoroughly explains the intricacies of the shot in the dark for those who have never played with the New Era twist, shows contestants exactly where to stand if and when it is their turn to be snuffed, and demonstrates proper talking volume while voting so others cannot hear you." Before the first Season 50 elimination, Probst delivers a moving message. Probst gives the assembled castaways one last message before the cameras start rolling. Probst began by saying, "I'm going to say what I've always said, which is that I'm sad to have anyone voted out. I mean it, looking at each and every one of you, sad to have any of you voted out. This season is very special, more than any other. I know how much it takes to get here. We all know about the sacrifices that you, your loved ones, and everything else have made. And additionally, I know that without these stakes, who cares? Because it is constantly life or death, Survivor is fascinating. So, my heart, just know when I'm snuffing out your light, as he touched his chest, but my head? Isn't that the game you signed up for? Having acknowledged that they had understood Probst's message, the castaways nodded. As the third night on the island comes to a close, the first participant in Survivor 50 is eliminated by a vote. Naturally, Ross cuts out his coverage of the first immunity challenge and tribal council ceremony to avoid giving anything away. Fans will need to tune in to CBS on Wednesday, February 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to see the epic, long-awaited 3-hour premiere of Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. The long-running reality show Survivor is making it abundantly clear that this is not just another chapter in the franchise's storied history as it approaches its historic 50th season. Survivor is preparing for a season that promises to honor the past while pushing the game into uncharted territory with subtle teases, carefully chosen previews, and knowing nods to its own mythology. The show is giving fans a first look at what's to come, including the first immunity challenge and the first tribal council of Season 50, as anticipation builds to fever pitch. The first immunity challenge and the inaugural tribal council are sacred rites for viewers who have been following Survivor for more than 2 decades. They set the mood for the season, reveal early alliances, and frequently hint at the chaos that will follow. It looks like Season 50 will deliver on all fronts. A season designed to feel unique. CBS and longtime host Jeff Probst made it clear that Season 50 would be special from the moment it was announced. Survivor has promised a celebratory yet ruthless return to the game's core elements of social strategy, physical endurance, and psychological warfare, rather than simply repeating the beats of previous seasons. The first teases suggest that Survivor's past will be heavily incorporated into Season 50. The premiere features challenge elements, familiar phrases, and visual references to previous seasons. However, this is not a nostalgia trip. Probst has suggested that players will need to quickly adjust to the game's unpredictable beginnings. The first immunity challenge, in particular, aims to make a statement by letting the cast and viewers know that Season 50 will test their limits. The first immunity test, relatively easier to overcome. While the specifics of the challenge are being kept under wraps by Survivor, promotional footage and teasers hint at a challenge that combines modern intensity with traditional grit. Consider massive structures that rise from the sea and sand, strenuous obstacles, and a final puzzle or endurance challenge that calls for teamwork under pressure. The opening immunity challenge has frequently doubled as a reward challenge in recent seasons, providing tribes with essential supplies. Season 50 appears to continue in that vein, albeit with increased stakes. Early shots show contestants struggling against the elements, suggesting a longer, more draining battle than what viewers have seen in some of the shorter, faster-paced modern seasons. The most noticeable aspect is the emphasis placed on cooperation. The challenge appears to be designed to quickly reveal flaws in the dynamics of the tribe, rather than highlighting individual strength. Who assumes leadership roles? Who falters when pressure mounts? And who quietly builds trust without being noticed? Survivor's first impressions can be risky, as longtime fans are aware. The immunity challenge may reward the tribe that comes out on top, but it also makes targets, sometimes the strongest and sometimes the weakest. The first signs of power dynamics appear. Survivor really starts when the first challenge is over. With adrenaline still pumping and exhaustion setting in, tribes return to camp to process what just happened. The teasers for Season 50 hint that these early moments are anything but tranquil. It's possible that alliances will begin to form more quickly than usual, as evidenced by subtle shots of hushed conversations, players scanning their surroundings, and wary glances across the shelter.
No one can afford to play passively with a cast that is widely believed to include returning legends as well as younger strategic thinkers. The fact that this is season 50 only adds to the pressure. Every participant is aware that they are a part of Survivor's history, and that fact alone may prompt them to make bolder and more risky choices right away. Tribal Council, the real start of the game. If the immunity challenge sets the tone, the first Tribal Council defines the season's emotional core. Tribal Council's opening scene, according to early teasers, focuses on atmosphere and tension. Even though the familiar torch-lit setting is still there, everything else feels more intense. The camera stays for longer. The pauses seem to be longer. The inquiries of Jeff Probst went a little bit further. Probst has referred to Tribal Council as a pressure cooker numerous times, and the first council of Season 50 appears designed to bring that pressure to a boil. Players give the impression of being cautious and choosing their words carefully, fully aware that their tribe mates may dissect each sentence. The tension appears to be more psychological rather than generated by violent confrontations. Who is intentionally being vague? Who is exaggerating? Who appears too at ease? This kind of restrained suspense is typical of Survivor, and it serves as a reminder that the most dangerous moments aren't always loud. A defining moment, the first vote. The show has hinted that the decision might not be as straightforward as it appears, despite the fact that the identity of the first player who was voted out remains tightly guarded. Plans changing, whispered conversations out of sight, and at least one player questioning whether the easy vote is really the right move. All these elements are hinted at in the premiere. The cast of Season 50 appears to be acutely aware of the significance of the first elimination. No one wants to be remembered as the first person to be voted out of a historic season, because that has weight. At the same time, someone has to go, and that reality forces players to face the unsettling reality of Survivor. Loyalty is fleeting, and survival is more important than loyalty. The role of Jeff Probst in Season 50. Jeff Probst, who is now synonymous with Survivor, appears particularly upbeat in Season 50. He's shown in teasers leaning into his role as both host and narrator, guiding viewers through the initial emotional and strategic stakes of the game. Probst has suggested that he will approach this season with a fresh sense of purpose. He appears determined to remind players as well as fans of the reason Survivor continues to exist, rather than merely explaining the rules. At Tribal Council, his inquiries, which inquire into how players define trust, fear, and ambition, feel less procedural and more philosophical. Probst's presence serves as the link between the past and the present during a season that celebrates 50 decades of play. A premiere designed to get people talking. From the first immunity challenge to the first Tribal Council, the opening of Season 50 appears designed to stoke fan debate. Was the competition fair? Did someone play too much too quickly? Should the tribe have taken a chance or opted for the safe vote? These questions are the lifeblood of Survivor fans, and Season 50 seems eager to answer them. By keeping the first twists subtle rather than overwhelming, the show lets personality and strategy take center stage. In an era when reality television often relies on shock value, Survivor Season 50 appears confident enough to let tension, history, and human behavior carry the day. A hopeful beginning to a historic season. Now that the torches have been lit and the first votes have been cast, Season 50 of Survivor appears on track to deliver a premiere that lives up to its legacy. The first Tribal Council emphasizes the game's emotional and strategic weight, while the first immunity challenge promises physical punishment and early revelations. The message is clear to both old and new Survivor fans. The show isn't slowing down. In fact, Season 50 serves as a reminder of the reasons the show has endured for so long and the significance of the first Tribal Council and challenge even after all these years. With alliances already forming, targets beginning to emerge, and the ruthless nature of the game on full display, Season 50 is off to a compelling start, one that suggests the milestone season may be as unpredictable and gripping as any that came before it.